Again, I've been playing with this, and today if we look at decision making, it's a solitary game. It's a solitary game that starts with a challenge. It might be a business problem, it might be an opportunity, and calls for a single investigator, usually a single individual, to gather information, formal information in the form of data, or in the form of documents, or in the form of maybe even these days YouTube videos. It doesn't matter, but it's formal and it's formalized, and integrate that information using some intuition, which is not supported by any tools, and their intention. What is it they want to do with this? Do they want to hide something? Do they want to expose something new? Do they want to innovate? Do they want to keep the status quo? Eventually leading to interpretation, which is the bringing together of the facts, of the information that's being gathered. And if you look at this investigation phase, it is essentially what BI tools do today. It is driven by formal information, what I call formal information, stuff that's written down somewhere or stored somewhere. So I want to introduce you to what I call the Eyesight Moment, again playing with the board. And since everybody has an iPad these days, and an iPhone, and an iPod, I thought they should also have an eyesight. Oh wait, no, we all have eyesight, or most of us have eyesight. Okay, so I want to talk about team-based decision-making and what that means. I want to talk about, for the last couple of minutes, about collaboration, about how collaboration works, and how this process needs to change. If I were to go out on the floor today and look at the BI tools, I guess that I would see that most of them talk about collaboration and collaborative add-ons. I don't believe that that's the approach. I believe that in order to do collaboration properly, you need to fundamentally change what it is you're doing with your BI environment. And that doesn't mean making an add-on for messaging for your BI tool. It means thinking about it differently. Decision-making teams are driven by interaction, the interaction that happens between them. And that means the collaboration and the interaction becomes the most important part of the process, not the BI tool, not the Cognos business objects, but the actual work that happens, the insight that happens within the collaboration. So in a team-based decision-making, when you come up with a challenge, the implementation phase is essentially about how do I create this team? How do I build the team and make it come together? And it may be a team that already exists, or it may be a team that I bring together on the fly for a new project or to solve a new problem. When I start talking about building a team, of course I'm interested in the formal information that needs to be gathered. Of course I'm interested in having it in a team room or having a way of getting at that information. But more importantly, I'm probably more interested in the things I'm representing here as these little pink blobs. This is informal information. Informal information is stuff that we communicate with one another. In a team, it's the conversations we have. It's the meetings we have. It's the standing in front of the whiteboard and drawing some boxes and arrows, and suddenly somebody looks and says, if I joined that box to that box with that arrow, that would work. That would make something different. And somebody then says, well, actually, our process won't allow us to do that, so we have to change, and so on and so forth. The innovation happens within the informal communication between the team. And in the past, I've thought about this for many years, in the past, capturing that informal communication, which is where all the innovation is, which is where all of the history of who is making the great leaps of thinking within the organization. All of that informal information in the past was entirely uncapturable. It was the conversation at the water cooler, as they call it in the States. It was the conversation that happened in the bar afterwards. But today, you watch the young people. Sorry, I'm talking like an old man, but I am. Watch the guys. They're doing it all on Twitter, they're doing it on Facebook, they're doing it on mobile phones. All of the communication, or a large percentage of the communication, is being electronically recorded. And they're choosing to do it. We older folks who know about privacy may worry about what gets put on Facebook. But in fact, what's being created at one level is a record of thinking. It's a record of the evolution of thinking, of how people's thoughts evolve, and bringing that into the organization, capturing that informal information, digitally recorded communications, is actually part of the key of making team-based decision-making work. Now, very few vendors are even thinking about this. This work is actually in a white paper on my website, sponsored by a small US software company called Eyesight, just to be open, who are thinking about some of this. I don't know whether they will succeed in making it happen, but they are definitely thinking about it. This is about the true future of collaboration. And in this particular picture, in a way, what we think of and what we provide as BI is a very small part, because most of it is about the interaction and the collaboration between people. But I think we can bring it all together, and it's always good to play with words. So I think we could bring it all together, the informal and the formal information, in some sort of information orchestrator that understands that there's a lot of places where information resides. A lot of formal information is in documents and presentations and spreadsheets and whatever around your organization. But a lot of informal information, which you make a decision to start gathering. Let's start electronically recording our meetings. Let's start electronically recording the whiteboards. Let's start using the social networking tools to gather the information about what's going on as the process evolves. Because today what we end up is with the end result. We only ever see the end result. It gets documented, let's say, in the minutes of the meeting or the outcome of slides that come from the meeting. But we don't actually get to see the process that created the innovation and the people that drove it. So that gives us the thought of having an information orchestrator, which is much bigger than just SharePoint. And an interaction choreographer that begins to track the interactions between people, that notes that, these are the people that actually contribute to the decision. These are the people that actually make this difference. And we can imagine that this is Big Brother. It is Big Brother-like. But we have to make the decision about how far we want this to go within our organizations. And we probably need to decide, as a society, how far we want this to go in terms of things like Facebook. Because that's where there's great danger indeed. So with that, I'd like to bring us to a close. I'd like to just take 3 points. I'm saying that 2012 is not the end, it's a beginning. It's a beginning in terms of what do we need to do. I think overall, simplify the BI environment. Less layers, less copies, less ETL, sorry to the ETL members, and recognize the emerging, converging BizTech ecosystem that I talked about in the earlier part of the presentation. Big data. Forget the hype, but do evaluate. Start looking at it particularly in terms of what are the business opportunities that may exist in unexpected places. Forget about, mining the interactions on Twitter, I think, at least it's my view, but look for the opportunities that change the business. And recall that big data has very different characteristics from the sort of data that we've used in the past. And finally, enable innovation through team working. That's talking about collaborative decisioning as opposed to collaborative BI, and the emerging role of informal information. So, is it the end of the world? Just leaving you perhaps with one final thought of this stranded ship that is our civilization in the desert, and perhaps the thought that maybe 2012 only happened because they ran out of space and storage. Thank you very much.